their current living situation?
Bills are probably relatively low as well.
Can an individual buy a house on their own?
What those carrying costs might be,
Are their jobs secure right now?
a little bit of a challenge at the moment.
A long-term plan,
Make sure that they have a goal in mind.
more in your price range of affordability.
Definitely be outside of the city.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Mortgage Den. It's Nick De Silva at Northwood Mortgage, and today I've got Jason Hollinger with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about the real estate market. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Now, Jason, the real estate market's been really quiet this summer. We've noticed a lot of the younger generation are not buying homes at this point in time. What do you think? What's keeping them away from buying at this point in time? What do you think about their current living situation?
So I think ultimately, there's a couple factors that probably go into it. First one being, the cost to get into the market is a little bit challenging from a home price perspective, as well as, coming up with the down payment. And I think for the most part, most are probably comfortable living with the family at the moment. Expenses are low. Bills are probably relatively low as well. So I think that probably plays a factor into them not getting into the market at the moment.
They're comfortable at home. Mommy and daddy is providing meals and doing the laundry for them.
Right.
And they're being scared off by these high prices that they're seeing out there right now.
Right.
Can an individual in this market buy a house on their own?
I think at this particular stage, it's definitely difficult to save up the required down payment that you need to get into the market. And obviously, a single income could obviously present a bit of a challenge to get into the market as well.
Now, they're living at home with mommy and daddy, probably not have much cost to pay for, right? They're probably paying for their cell phone and some streaming channels and stuff like
Right.
that. The introduction to having to make a mortgage payment, that's a big ticket shock.
Definitely. Yeah. I think one of the main things that would probably be beneficial in that case would definitely be, connect with your mortgage professional, get yourself a pre-approval so you can get an idea of exactly, what those carrying costs might be. And I think that's going to kind of soften the blow as far as sticker shock, as to what the actual costs are to carry a mortgage in a property.
Again, younger generation, you heard in the news, the unemployment is high among younger generation.
Right.
Again, you see this happening on a regular basis. Are their jobs secure right now?
Yeah, so I think in my experience, some of the things that I'm seeing just related to, whether it's a professional or even, a union worker, there's definitely some instability there, just as far as, being able to get that full-time status or things along those lines. Yeah, I think the income stability is definitely, a little bit of a challenge at the moment.
Again, you deal with a lot of young buyers out there right now. Do you think they have a long-term plan to get into the market? Have any of them ever really sat down and say, hey, I'm going to, start saving up. I want to get in the market in 2 years, 1 year, 5 years.
Right.
What are you seeing with these younger people?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for the most part, what I see with the clients that I have is, ultimately, the first thing that I like to do is obviously just make sure that they have a goal in mind, right? So once you have the goal, I find it makes kind of attaining the goal much more achievable. For the most part, when I initially chat with them, there's definitely not a plan in place. It's just more so I want to buy the property and what do I need to do? And then once we kind of work through some of the details and they realize this could be a 2-year or a 3-year plan or longer, sometimes that could be a little discouraging, but definitely having a goal in mind and making sure that, you're working towards that goal, I think puts it into perspective as far as achieving it.
Do they have something better to do with their money right now?
It's a good question.
I look at my family, and my son wants to buy that fancy new truck.
Right.
My daughter wants to buy that fancy new car.
Yeah.
That takes away from the potential that they would have for money to put down as a down payment.
Yeah.
Are they playing the stock market? Are they into video games? I'm not a video gamer, but I understand that it's pretty expensive.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, those setups can definitely become expensive. I think that's where I kind of circle back to just having the goal, right? So I think sitting down with a mortgage professional and just kind of getting that goal of home ownership in play, I think that's going to kind of what helps guide towards, let's just say maybe not spending as much on one of those types of purchases and maybe allocating a little bit of that more so to the savings. And it's just about, prioritizing what the end goal is really going to be.
What you're suggesting is that they need to get some professional help, and they should be talking to a mortgage broker and a financial planner to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the absolute best place to start, right? Once you have a goal in mind, I think it just, your everyday life becomes a little bit more clear as far as what you need to do to achieve that goal. And if you decide to maybe veer from it, for a month or two for a purchase, you can do that. But without a goal, it's very hard to get to the end result.
You mentioned previously that depending on their income and the downstroke, where they might be buying,
Yep.
could be a factor.
Yep.
Right? If you don't have the big down payment, you don't have the income, you're looking for prices of homes that are more in your price range of affordability.
Right.
Where would you see those kind of properties?
Yeah, so I think anything in the GTA is ultimately going to be, of the highest price. I think for the most part, when I chat with some of the younger buyers, they say, Jay, I'd love to be able to buy in somewhere in the GTA ultimately. And then once we kind of dive into the numbers, I think reality sort of sets in. Some of the areas that may become a little bit more affordable would definitely be outside of the city from that perspective. So you could be looking at places like, Hamilton and Durham region, Niagara region. So those are going to be some of the areas that are just going to become a little bit more attainable for your first purchase. I think where you start isn't necessarily going to be the dream home, but I think having, again, those goals in mind are what's going to allow you to prioritize those types of expectations.
But now the challenge with that is a commute.
Yeah. Right?
Either that or you're going to have to find a job in those market areas.
Yeah. There's always going to be a bit of a sacrifice, I think, right? It's very hard to get everything that you want ultimately at the end. So I think, if the goal is home ownership, for example, maybe a condo in the city could be a great place to start. Those are definitely, from an affordability perspective, you can get in there for $500,000, right? Or less. Again, it's just about prioritizing what your goals are going to be, and then just having a realistic expectation of how you're going to accomplish them.
So Jason, what are some of the savings programs out there that the government's provided that will help a young buyer start saving for a home?
Yeah, that's a great question. So outside of the traditional savings accounts, which would be your, TFSAs, for example, there's what's called a first home savings account. So basically, your first year contribution in there can be up to $8,000 with a lifetime total of up to $40,000. And then you also have an RSP, home buyers plan account, which could enable you to save up to $60,000 in that. So you could have a combined down payment of up to $100,000 per individual. Or if you have a spouse, then ultimately you could have up to $200,000 if you were able to max it out together.
What are some of the benefits for a first-time home buyer from a land transfer tax point of view?
So for a first-time home buyer, I believe, just depending on the geography, obviously, that you're buying, but you could get a tax credit of up to $4,000 towards the land transfer taxes for that.
What other programs recently came out from the government with respect to, debt servicing that will help these first-time home buyers?
What we're able to do is they've basically extended the insured mortgage capacity. So where it was under $1 million before, they've extended that up to 1.5 million, which basically just means that you can put down, less than 20%. So ultimately, the way that it works is you can put 5% down of the first 500,000, and then 10% of anything over 500,000, all the way up to the 1.499 million. So on a simplicity kind of way, if you had a mortgage of 700,000, you could get away with a $45,000 down payment.
So you can spread your money out a little bit more and get a little bit more of a home, or buy a home in an area that you want to be in, which might be close to family or work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's how the government's helping.
Absolutely.
Well, Jason, thank you for coming in today and sharing your expertise with us. And for The Mortgage Den, this is Nick De Silva signing off.